Happy New Year's. So over the last 2 days, I decided to get into the S15, and just as an exercise, I am very sure that that driver, they say it's a third gen 14.8 millimeter planar driver, so obviously I'm very interested to know what the deal is. This is what I ended up doing so that I didn't break the entire headphone. I don't know if you can see that, but let's see. Drilled a hole right smack where I thought the damper would be, and I actually got it. So I was able to get in there with tweezers and replace the damper. The idea was that I wanted to try and slide things around. I wanted to add some more bass. So that's the first thing I did. I added more bass. And other things of note, I really dislike putting foam in planars because it just, it's, like putting a blanket over a speaker, so to speak. You can tune it like that, but highest resolution, most details, most separation, most everything is going to be without any kind of crap between the driver and your eardrum. So I wanted to get a tuning that was without that, but with 6 point something decibels of pin gain if I could make it happen, and yeah, I'm a low pin gain army. Plus I like to have some bass if I can get it. So here's what I found out. Also, by the way, the S15, of course, where this is, what this is in, has, it's a pretty nice tuning to get the amount of details it has, which is not a lot. I'm going to say it's a warm sounding, fairly neutral, but I don't know. If you're going after that, then cool. It's slightly warm, just slightly. I wouldn't say actually warm, arguably not, but it's really quite neutral. It doesn't have any kind of popping details that fly out at you. You can hear a little bit of planar mojo in it, a little bit. It's not good. And so I wanted to at least see if I could pull back some of that magic that the original drivers from the first series S12 and the S12 Pros, which have the second gen drivers, and also they mix that up sometimes, God knows why. But I wanted to see if I could get the same mojo out of the third gen as the second gen. So just to say directly, I'm fairly sure, based on the graphs and everything else, they got the consistency higher. So what they're doing is they're doping the driver membrane. So that means they're spraying some kind of schmutz on it, and in a certain way. And so on the second gen driver, I'm pretty sure the first gen drivers don't have a lot of schmutz or any. So then the second gen drivers, they schmutzed it, and you just tell that, however they're doing it, not 100% consistent. And that's what's pretty well been driving me insane. I don't know, never mind the drivers themselves, but the schmutz. Everything else. But so I think on the third gen they schmutzed it even more, which makes it really quite consistent. Like each driver is going to be fairly, well matched. But the downside is you don't have any of the same mojo because they had to decrease the treble so much as the original series of those drivers. So that's where I'm at with that, really. I don't know. Okay, well, there's another thing going on, which is that the bore diameter on planars is intrinsically linked to the amount of treble, the openness of the sound, and that's a number of things psychoacoustically that happen, but it's important. So the smaller the bore on a planar, the worse generally center focused it's going to be. I'm sure there's other ways to get this right acoustically, but this is what I know so far. So just to give you an example, S12, big fat wide bore, the Haida's MP145, size of my face, massively huge wide bore, and then you can accentuate that by removing their tips, the screw-on tips, and it's pretty well a perfect scenario for what I want that to do, what the driver needs to do. Huge wide open bore. Anyway, so S15 from Lecture has a skinnier bore than the S12 originally, and I decided, well, at least thank God it's like a resin or some kind of plastic. So got a drill bit and I drilled it out very carefully. And indeed, immediately the stage opened up maybe 20-25%. And I got a little more details out of it. And one after effect is that the pin gain I really would rather have it more like 2.2, 2.3 K, but as you open the bore up, that actually moves further in frequency. So right now I'm about 2.6-ish, which is fine, but it cannot be any more than that. So I got to figure out, so it's like, shit. I got to, and here's the other thing, the fucking PR, the pressure relief, is right in front of the actual driver. Hang on, let me get up this shit. So what that means is it's actually clamping the bore down, and there's absolutely fucking nothing I can do about it, aside from like drilling through the thing, which, hey, I don't know. I'm not an actual, I mean, here's the thing. The pressure relief is a nice technology, but the way they have the S15 tuned is that they already have a vent for the front of the driver, which is not a high value of damper in there. So in other words, it leaks a fair amount of air. If you plug that entirely, you get probably like 3 to 4 more decibels of sub bass, and probably about 3 actually. So it's clearly venting quite a bit. So then it's like, what the fuck is the pressure relief for? Yes, it works. And I know that works because I blocked the front vent. But here's what's going on. I think because of the way they did the skinny bore, the way it clamps down on the soundstage and everything, then you add the PR into the mix. If I disable that, actually the stage turns to pretty much ass. So it's definitely, it's doing something. Like the driver sees like, I don't know, like a bigger chamber or something. But would have been better to just make a wider bore, like leave the pressure relief out until I'm confident about how you should be able to use that. Like then if you opened the bore up, then somehow tuned in more bass, then you put the PR in there, I think that would be a really, really good thing. It should maybe, put the cherry on the cake in terms of the stage and the openness. But as it is, it's like the S15 just does not have enough bass. I mean, for me, especially coming from the other drivers, it just doesn't, man. I've been listening to way too much stuff that has just amazing bass, so it feels a little bit thin on the ass end, but fairly open. And so I end up with a dilemma. It's like, what do I do? I guess probably I'm gonna drill the nozzle out as far as I can get it, so I've got like maybe 1 millimeter of plastic material, resin, whatever, so that it's not gonna die. But other than that, I'm almost at the point where I want to take the drivers out of those shells, put them back in the S15, or sorry, the S12 shells, because clearly that works, and this is not doing. It doesn't scale as high as it needs to, especially for what the price is. And like, honestly, if they would have priced the S15 like, let's say $100, 99 bucks, it would be just like, yeah, sure, get it, great, no problems. But at 300 and whatever, they are smoking crack. Like, there's just no fucking way. It's not that high performing. It's nice, and the thing is that I suppose on the market, it's one of the more safe and like reasonable tuned planners. It's got a little bit of the planar mojo going on, whereas a lot of the other ones don't. So yeah, that's my opinion. I'm a little bit disappointed. It's took me fucking forever to do this. Drilling through the back shell, like, started doing that by hand, and like after about 4 hours of twiddling my thumbs, like literally, I started getting a blister, and I'm just like, fuck this, gotta drill. Did it the rest of the way, but I didn't actually go through the driver. Oh, also, the 3rd gen drivers are, I was guessing maybe they were the same as the MP145, but like a bigger version. And that could possibly be, I was thinking about this after I was about to make up my mind, but essentially this, the back resonating chamber on the 3rd gen driver is made of metal, and on the MP145 it's made of plastic, which is definitely not the same driver, at least I don't think so. The rear chamber on the planners, the secondary resonating chamber, is used to create the pina area, the ear gain area. So yeah, if you take that off, you get like this fucking wacky graph. and probably never going to work for anybody. So that's how they're doing that. So if you're changing the volume of that back resonating chamber, you're changing the shape and where exactly the ear gain area happens on planners. And as a result of that, actually, I think if I'm able to 3D print my own, I'm going to be able to do some pretty cool stuff for sure, for sure. So things I'm thinking about, but wanted to talk about that, having a little fun. Right on, and I'll talk to you on the next one.